What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Rican Brothers RaiderNation podcast. My name is Nazo. I'm your host as usual. My brother, I've been kind of posting and recording these things at times that my brother's unavailable, so it's not intended. It just so happens to be with the way my schedule is set up, and it's just kind of how it played out. So my apologies that he hasn't been a part of it, but shouts out to Anthony. And, I thank everyone for tuning in to the Rican Brothers RaiderNation podcast. Just want to jump right into it now and just say, hey, we going to the playoffs, man. We can't be happier as it is right now. The last time we went in was 2016. And it was, in shocking fashion where Derek Carr was injured against the Indianapolis Colts. He ended up breaking a bone in his leg. And here we are, fast forward to 5 years later, in the season that all odds were stacked against us, a bunch of adversity, a bunch of leadership questions, just a bunch of question marks all around, even with the roster. So I got to tip my hat to the Raiders organization, Derek Carr stepping up. I know I've been really hard and critical of him lately, and just, the consistency is still a question mark for me, but shouts out to the Raiders and everyone, rising up over adversity and taking this on and conquering up to this point, because now we're in the playoffs, right? So it's kind of cool how we ended up beating the Chargers because, as far as the Chargers are concerned, they looked like the better team the first time around. It was the John Gruden run Raiders offense. And we had a lot of question marks going into this game specifically just because of how good the Chargers personnel was and how much better the media and everyone else says that their team is and their capabilities, the quarterback position, which I do think Justin Herbert is a great quarterback. He's going to be around for a long time. So the Chargers-Raiders rivalry is not going anywhere anytime soon. I just wanted to, more just pretty much talk about how we overcame a lot to win this game. And a lot of it was due to the will of the Las Vegas Raiders and just how much they wanted it more. And you could just tell that they were the hungrier team. Now, as far as this game is concerned, I did pick the Raiders to win. I believe I picked a 3-point spread, which they won by 3. So hats off to me just for picking that. And along with the win, I didn't expect the points to be as high. But as far as regulation, if it would have ended in regulation with 3 points, I would have won. And I did choose the over for the point spread. So hats off to me. Want to give myself a shout out. Now, as far as the defense is concerned, I know that we did get an interception, which I did predict as well. I just predicted the wrong player. Nate Hobbs or Trayvon Merrick was the person or people who I said they could, either one of those would be the person who intercepts it. Now, I can't recall what my sack numbers were, but I definitely remember something along the lines of Maxx Crosby foretelling that he would have a big game, and he exactly did. So I think I have a pretty good grip on what I know of this team and what I can expect. So just looking at, the box score here, looks like we sacked Justin Herbert 3 times for a total of 28 yards lost. Derek Carr was also sacked 3 times with, 18 yards being lost. But the biggest thing for me is, again, something that I mentioned is Derek Carr has to be mistake-free. He has to protect the ball, and he has to do everything he can, just to give us the best shot at winning. And I advise that, this offensive line would need to come to play, as well as the defense getting to Herbert. All 3 of those things happen. So with that being said, those were the keys to success. You look at Derek Carr, he had 2 touchdowns. He was 20 of 36 for 186 yards, not the best. But Josh Jacobs came to play again, the offensive line, not only pass protecting Derek Carr and, along with that, creating great holes creating the space that Josh Jacobs needed to make things happen with his legs. And, you know, he had 26 carries for 132 yards, 1 touchdown and a long for 28 yards. And again, I know a real critical play in that game was Jalen Richard getting that first down when it was like 3rd down and 23. Jalen Richard finding ways to find separation from, you know, those blocks and just getting behind those guys and just pretty much zigzagging his way to a first down. And I think that was a great draw play by the Raiders to catch them off guard. I didn't like the play necessarily, but it turned out to be a great play. So you can't really get mad when the plays that you don't like succeed, because at the end of the day, you want execution, and execute they did. So hats off to them for executing on that pivotal 3rd down. I think the big thing in this one was Austin Eckler being held to 64 yards. That run defense was another thing that I did advise, not only getting to Herbert, but minimizing that run defense, or the rushing attack of the Chargers, on being a key to victory. Again, we did that. And, you know, this front has really been playing great. And I just want to mention a couple things here about the defense, because I want to go into it a little bit. So Maxx Crosby, he had 2 sacks as far as that's concerned. Let's see here. Maxx Crosby had 2 sacks, and then you had Quentin Jefferson and Cleveland Ferrell that had a half a sack. Now, the big thing for me was the tackles for loss. You had Faison, who had a tackle for loss, Nate Hobbs, Darius Philon with that key 4th down tackle for loss. Maxx Crosby had 3 tackles for loss. He was an absolute beast in this game, and he took over. And it's just his relentless motor that, you know, we've all known about since he's been training in the off season. He's been putting great games together, and it's just one of those things where it's like it finally came to fruition in a critical game, in a game that meant so much to the Raiders organization, and a stepping stone to the next phase of Raider football. So I want to go over what the defense has done since week 14, because week 14 was against the Kansas City Chiefs. Or I guess it'd be technically, week 14. So, you know, week 15, actually, if you want to go into it, because we have, 15, 14, I don't know, whatever the case may be. It was a Chiefs matchup, right? So the offense, it was week 14, sorry. So my apologies for the back and forth there. So when I looked at this game, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs got the best of us, right? And they won 48-9, and the Chiefs came out just kind of having the upper hand with the turnover by Josh Jacobs on the very first drive. And it just kind of was destined for a shitty day. Now, I was just looking at the game. I was looking at, what we were doing on defense. And the thing is we really didn't do all that bad on defense. It was more of the offense causing the defense to be on the field repeatedly. And I mean, we had 5 total turnovers on offense in that game. So yes, the defense was the one who got scored on, but let's run down this offensive just horror show that happened on that day. So you got Derek Carr fumbling with a fumble for loss. He also threw an interception, okay? You have Josh Jacobs, who had a fumble, who lost that. You have Hunter Renfrow, who had a fumble, who lost that as well. Very unlikely of Hunter Renfrow, as well as Zay Jones. So you talk about 5 turnovers. No defense in the NFL is going to win a game if their offense is turning over the ball 5 times. Now, if you look up the defensive statistics, we got to the quarterback, total of 4 hits, and we sacked him 3 times. So the offensive line had a messy day for the Raiders, but the defense, all in all, if you want to look at this just inside the box score, I mean, we only gave up 21 first downs. We only had 19 ourselves. The rushing defense is really what kind of killed us with 132 yards for 3 touchdowns and, the passing attack of 258. Now, the total yards we gave up was 372 versus our 290. And we had 4 fumbles and they had 1 fumble, but they didn't lose it. So we had 5 turnovers in this game and the possession margin was only about 6 minutes in difference. So you look at that game and you're like, yeah, this defense is just playing terrible. But are they? They're really not. Because, yes, they gave up those yards, but the offensive position group put them in a terrible position. So fast forward to the next week, right? We are in week 15. In this game, we end up playing the Cleveland Browns. Defense held the Cleveland Browns to 14 points. Yes, they got, ransacked with COVID, but the running game was still very much alive. And they still had some position players outside of Baker Mayfield, which is still a coin toss whether or not Baker Mayfield is who he says he is. Right? So you're looking at that. And, if I just pull this up right here, we held them to 89 total rushing yards with 147 total yards, and the total yards was 236. The Las Vegas Raiders had 5 fumbles in that game. One of them was for a loss and 2 turnovers. Yet again, the odds stacking against them with the offense of position group, not holding their end with the ball security, making it tougher for the defense. Yet here they are, holding the offense of the Cleveland Browns to 236 total yards. Okay. Let's fast forward to the next week, right? Week 16, Denver Broncos, Las Vegas Raiders. Again, we're looking at the defense. The Las Vegas Raiders had 3 turnovers on offense. Again, not helping out the defense any, making it harder for them. However, the defense held them to 158 total yards. Again, the defense doing their thing. Yes, the Kansas City Chiefs game was a little high, but again, 5 turnovers by the offense. I hope you're getting where I'm going with this. Week 17, okay? Play the Indianapolis Colts. Again, 2 turnovers, the offense. No turnovers on the defense. We didn't get the ball back. Again, a negative margin, a deficit. Now, they only held the Colts, who has the number 1 running back in the NFL, to 262 yards. At 140 passing yards, and the rest came from running the ball with, which, their running back, Jonathan Taylor is just ridiculous. So it's just something that you can't really overcome. So, these games that the defense have been putting together where they've been in a deficit as far as the offense turn over the ball, them having the odds stacked against them. I mean, we're seeing a good defensive unit, but yet they're being cast a shadow upon as giving up these points. But again, it's the mistakes of the offense. So now we go ahead and fast forward to this past week against the Chargers in this one, right? So again, the Chargers had 2 turnovers and Las Vegas Raiders had 0. Now, down the stretch, I will say the Raiders were kind of gassed and we had that 2 touchdown lead and they did fold a little bit. However, they stuck it out when it mattered and we did what we needed to do to win the game. And that's where our offense can step up because as you saw the four weeks prior to that, right? They were consistently the ones making the defense battle and battle and battle and battle. It's about time that they stepped up for the defense when they had an off game. Now, Maxx Crosby had an amazing game. So we're going to play off of that. Those last 5 weeks, they won 4 games. If they didn't have 5 turnovers in Kansas City, we could be talking about a different game. 5 offensive turnovers is one hell of a terrible game for an offense to have, especially when you're in position of you're driving the ball down, boom, out. Driving the ball down, boom, out. Driving the ball, boom. So it's not like we weren't able to move the ball in Kansas City. It's just the fact of the offensive meltdowns and the breakdowns that happen with ball security. And that's been kind of like the narrative all year with Derek Carr, with the offensive players, and just the offense as a whole, because the offensive line has progressively gotten better. The offensive position players have been stepping up. Once that Kansas City game happened, it was kind of like erase your mind. Let's go. Let's move forward. And, now this is pretty much destiny. Every game has been a playoff game, as a lot of the Raider players have said in their press conferences that they've had. And the thing is, with all this adversity, turning the ball over is something that is a discipline issue that's on the offensive side of the ball. So that's something that needs to be taken into with Greg Olsen, with head coach Rich Bisaccia, with the position coaches at the quarterback position, the running back position, and the wide receiver position. And now with having Darren Waller come back, because we didn't have Darren Waller for, since Thanksgiving. He was out at the second half of that Cowboys game. So now he's back. And yeah, he was a little rusty last game, but I mean, he's coming back off of not only having an injured knee, but also, having COVID. So he's still regaining his strength. He's still getting back in rhythm with Derek Carr. Now, fast forward to this week, right? Because we have the Cincinnati Bengals that we're traveling to. And let's just call it what it is. The defense has been playing very good. They haven't been playing excellent, but they've been playing very good. And the momentum is on their side. And it's the offense that needs to catch up with their momentum in order to push forward through this Cincinnati game. So Cincinnati Bengals versus Las Vegas Raiders. And I need to look at the odds. So let me pull that up here real quick. So as far as I'm looking at right here, so they are the 5th seed and Cincinnati Bengals are the 4th seed. Okay. Now, as far as the spread is concerned, let's see here. So it looks like the Bengals are 5.5-point favorites, and we have a total of 48.5 points to cover for the over-under. And of course, we know that the Raiders are not going to be favored, especially since the first time we met, we didn't do a good job at execution. Again, going back to the offensive turnovers, the defense pretty much broke down, and it just wasn't a good matchup. I mean, you can only do so much when the other side of the ball is working against you. And, Joe Mixon had a great day, but a lot of it was due to poor field position for the defense, breakdowns on the defensive side of being gassed and just being overworked and underperformed on the other side of the ball. So the good thing is we only have one real questionable person, which is Jonathan Hankins going into the game. The Bengals don't really have anyone as far as what I can see right now. Let me see here. As far as the spread, I mean, the Bengals are 6-2 against the spread. However, it doesn't really make much sense to really take into consideration since this is playoff territory. Everyone's 0-0. And, it's just one of those things where, listen, we are not going to have the same team as going in that first time, right? The Raiders are a better team just from what the eye sees in this matchup. And again, just what the Raiders have been performing at on the defensive side of the ball, because to be honest with you, it's going to come up to the offense not having turnovers and getting our best defensive players on the field to put us in position for the offense to close it out. Now, I really like what Marcus Mariota has been doing as far as, his participation into the offensive play calling, because it's not up to him, it's up to the play calling. So I like his involvement. And as well, it's going to come down to a couple things, right? So number one is going to be Derek Carr's ball security and the offense not turning over the ball. We can take a sack. It doesn't matter. There's really four things that I'm looking at. So it's really ball security on the offense, and then the offensive line playing as they have, creating that push up front and allowing us to have the run game, because that's going to open up play action, deep passes downfield. Zay Jones, Hunter Renfrow, Deshaun Jackson, and then Waller getting involved. And secondarily, we are going to need to have that push up front on defense, because it's going to do two things. It's going to not only help us in creating turnovers on the back end, because Joe Burrow is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. So, he sticks in there, and we have the personnel to get to him, right? And secondarily, it causes us to have the momentum we need on the road with having that pressure like we did in the Steelers game when we went to Pittsburgh, and getting the turnovers and switching the momentum and, turning the field position to bring it back to the offense if they can execute on offense, and just maintaining that, ball security. So we got Derek Carr and the offensive ball security. We got the play of the offensive line to establish the run and protect Derek Carr against a good defense, a real good defense, as well as the defensive front causing pressure up front and getting to Joe Burrow, because not only will that put us in those longer third down positions so we can stop them, and as well causing turnovers. But the fourth thing is stopping the run or minimizing it, because we've done a great job against good running backs these last 4 weeks. That's why we're 4-0. So that would be my keys to victory. And I know that, let me just pull this up real quick here. So as far as like this wild card round, we're both 10-7 going in, right? The Bengals are 10-7. They won their division, and the Raiders are 10-7. Now it starts at 2:30 Mountain Standard Time, which that's where I'm located in Arizona. And we're going into the jungle in Cincinnati. And the thing is everyone is picking us to not win, right? We're not favored to win. We got this huge thing of just, nobody believes in the Las Vegas Raiders. It's always about the other team. And, the thing is it doesn't matter right now. It really doesn't, because at the end of the day, it matters more about what the Raiders allow as far as on offense and defense. So are we going to allow them to push us around up front and our offense not be aggressive, which we know that they can do because we've seen it throughout the season? Are we going to allow them to get to Derek Carr? Are we going to allow them to shut down our run game? We have the personnel to make things happen because we've seen it, and we've seen it against good teams. I think Dallas is a better team than the Cincinnati Bengals, but, granted they didn't have two of their receivers. I think they still have just as good a talent, if not better, especially on the front offensive line. And, we got to Dak. We made it hard for him. So I don't see why this defensive personnel up front cannot get to Joe Burrow, because their offensive line is not great, which in turn, if you're getting to the quarterback, that's going to lead to confidence on stopping the run game, because we're going to have our packages where our run stoppers and the interior part of the line are going to be in there. So I know I'm kind of going all around, but I'm going to give you my prediction after I talk a little bit more, just because I only got a little bit more time here. But, as far as the Bengals history, the Bengals have beat us. So for dating back to just the last 5 games, we're 1-4. Okay. Back to 2012. So the Las Vegas Raiders do lead the series 21-12. But the last, I want to talk about the last 5 times we've met, because it's been in 2021, which we lost 32-13. In Las Vegas, 2019. In Oakland, we won 17-10. In 2018, we lost 30-16. 2015, we lost 33-13. And then as well, in 2012, we lost 34-10. Different teams, different times, but the most recent that I can relate to, because that's within the last 10 years, if you want for relativity. Now, it's going to be tough to shut down Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase connection. They have T. Higgins, Uzmata, the tight end, and, their defense with Trey Hendrickson, real good. And, they have another defensive end. I forget what his name is, but, their secondary is something we could beat. We can beat their secondary. We have the personnel to do so. With Darren Waller being out there, it's going to be really key for him to get involved early and often. And you keep Hunter Renfrow and Zay Jones eating steadily. And then, you go and hit Deshaun Jackson with that long ball, because Deshaun Jackson does need to get a little bit more involved, because I feel like we're not scaring any defense as far as the long ball being hit. But Derek Carr needs to execute when he has that long ball opportunity and he takes a shot. Because one thing I did see against the Chargers that really could have opened it up was Zay Jones. He missed where he overthrew him, and he had Zay Jones by like 5 yards on the guy. That's something that needs to be kind of ironed over and smoothed out, just so we can make sure that we're in the very best position to succeed in this game. It's an AFC wildcard game, Super Wildcard Saturday. And, with our defense, our secondary is going to be really playing to how our front is playing. So if we're getting pressure, you can definitely see that our secondary is going to succeed. And that middle portion of our defense, KJ Wright, Denzel Perryman, Divine Diablo, they will be busy, because they are going to want to run the ball with Mixon. But it's up to those front 4. Now that we no longer have Phylon, I've been pounding the table for them all year. We're going to see Damian Square. We may even see Isaiah Buggs, who just came over from the Steelers, comes from a winning culture. So he's a big body. He's a run stuffer. We'll see more of Solomon Thomas. And I'm hoping we get Carl Nassib back, because to be honest with you, Carl Nassib, when he's in there in that second rotation, when Maxx Crosby and Yannick need to take a breather, or they just, are switching up the packages, I like Carl Nassib because he can get the leverage on those tackles. He's a huge dude. I mean, he's 6'7", he's got good bend, and he's got good leverage. And in this, it's going to come up to, can the Raiders bully that offensive line and take away the ball? And on offense, it's, can we bully them on the offensive line and run the ball and keep Derek Carr protected and not turn over the ball? Because it's going to come down to turnovers in this game. So with all that being said, I'm going to give you my prediction. Now, I know that a lot of people are counting us out. I don't think we're done. I think this game ends up being 31-28. Raiders win in dramatic fashion in the last 2 minutes. I think we do get a pick late, and I think we're able to minimize the run, but I think the passing game keeps the Bengals alive. So that's my prediction. 31-28, Raiders win. Keep the bus going into the playoffs. AFC Wildcard Saturday, Super Wildcard Saturday, Super Wildcard Weekend, whatever you want to call it. I think the Raiders come away victorious. And John Madden lives on. We live to fight another day. And I think we shock everyone. And specifically, I think it's due to the offense coming alive with Darren Waller being back in the mix. And I think we really do end up getting to Joe Burrow with the way that this front 4 is playing. and our secondary does have a late game pick, or even just a late game turnover, whether it's a fumble or interception, that's for the football gods to decide. But that's it for me today, guys. I really appreciate you tuning in to the Rican Brothers Raider Nation podcast. I'm going to go ahead and edit this, get it uploaded, just so everyone has it to watch Friday evening, Saturday morning before the game. I love you. I'm not done yet for the year. I want to keep this thing going because I do want to keep it just within the season. Then I'll drop videos here and there throughout the off season. But I believe that the Raiders have a lot of positive momentum in their corner. I think the players are dialed in. I think the veteran leadership is really settling in. And I think we see one of the best games that Derek Carr has in this one coming. And I know he's frustrating to watch at times, but his consistency has always been a question for me. And I think he shuts me up this weekend. If I'm wrong, I'll get on here and I'll definitely go ahead and lay it on you all. So please like, subscribe, share with your friends, family. Get Raider folks, non-Raider folks who want to come on the bandwagon. You're very welcome to come. This is Nazo tuning out, the Rican Brothers Raider Nation podcast. Let's go Raiders.